Okay, we are looking for a strengthens, weakens, command of evidence problem. We want to support the student's claim and with a quotation. So we're not going to assume it's true, but we want to use a quotation that's going to support the student's claim. So let's see what that claim is. Boldly mixing elements of poetry, fiction, drama, philosophy, and manifesto, Puerto Rican writer Giannina Braschi creates cross-genre literature that explores themes such as immigration and independence. So she's cross-genre, poetry, fiction, drama, philosophy, manifesto. Her works have inspired responses from individuals across different fields and a wide range of formats, from musical competitions and a comic book to architecture, furniture design. In an essay, a student asserts, so here's the student's claim, the production of these diverse creations by others is reflective of Braschi's own approach to crafting literature. Okay, so we need a quote that shows her different types of art were sort of mirrored or inspired other types of artists or people with different interests and formats to express their art. So let's see where we find that. Braschi is the focus of a 2020 collection of essays, which 15 scholars from 7 different countries delved into linguistic patterns of her writing. That's not it. Now, we need to see there's a wide range of people who were inspired by her wide range of literary output. And specifically, those fields are, by the way, all not literary. Musical, well, comic book is, I guess, a little bit of literature. Architecture, furniture design. So mostly non-literature, a wide range, matching or reflecting her wide range of literature. So Braschi's eagerness to push boundaries and blend genres within literature invites us to consider how other art forms might also engage with literature. So yeah, that would be a quote from a scholarly review that would point out that her varied literature is inspired other varied forms of art. So I think that's going to be it. C, before settling in New York City, where she would go on to become a college professor, Braschi studied both literature and that says nothing about the quote to reflect our claim. In addition to her creative literary works, Braschi has produced academic pieces analyzing writings of Miguel Cervantes, Federico Garcia Lorca, and other. No, that's, again, nothing about sort of other types of art being inspired by her different types of literature. Correct answer is B. Okay, this is an if true prompt, and we want to weaken, not strengthen the team's hypothesis, weaken it. So let's see. Icebergs generally appear to be mostly white or blue, depending on how the ice reflects the sunlight. Ice with air bubbles trapped in it looks white because much of the light reflects off the bubbles. Ice with air bubbles usually looks blue because light travels deep into the ice and only little light is reflected. However, some icebergs in the sea around Antarctica appear green. One team of scientists hypothesized, so here's the hypothesis that we want to weaken, that this phenomena, that turning green ice, is the result of yellow tinted dissolved organic carbon in Antarctic waters mixing with blue ice to produce the color green. Okay? So I either want to, if this is not true, that yellow and blue are mixing to produce green, we can either find no yellow carbon, dissolved carbon in green, or I think alternatively we could find blue ice that has the yellow carbon. So if the blue ice had the yellow carbon and it was still blue, that would argue against the yellow and blue having to make green. Either of these cases would argue against the hypothesis here, I believe. So A, white ice doesn't change color when mixed with dissolved organic carbon. Okay, that tells us nothing. B, dissolved organic carbon has a stronger yellow color in it in Antarctic waters than it does in other places. It's not Antarctic versus other places. That's irrelevant to our claim. Blue icebergs and green icebergs are rarely found near each other. Again, doesn't matter whether they're found near each other or not. I either want to see there's no yellow in something that's green, which suggests yellow tinted organic carbon is not causing it, Or blue that has yellow carbon in it, which means the yellow doesn't necessarily create green. D, blue icebergs and green icebergs contain similarly small traces of dissolved organic carbon. Yeah, that's going to be it, right? That's the problem. So if I have blue with the carbon and green with the carbon, it's not clear the carbon is making the blue to green, since both have it. D is going to be our answer. Many governments that okay, what are we looking at? We find the study, if true, we want to weaken the argument. Again, another one. Many governments that regularly transfer money to individuals to provide supplemental incomes for senior citizens, for example, have long done so electronically. But other countries typically have distributed physical money and have only recently developed electronic transfer infrastructure. Okay, so we can deliver electronically, we can deliver physically, like cash, and some have recently switched over. Researchers studied the introduction of an electronic transfer system in one such location, found that recipients of electronic transfers consumed a different array of foods than recipients of physical transfers of the same amount. So one got electronic, they may have consumed some food, and the ones who got physical cash may have consumed other foods or maybe more of it or something. Okay. One potential explanation for this result is that individuals conceive of and allocate, so here's our claim or explanation we want to refute or weaken. Individuals conceive of and allocate funds in physical money differently than they conceive of and allocate funds in electronic form. So we want evidence, if we're going to weaken this, that they're not using the physical and electronic money differently. Perhaps they're using it exactly the same way. Okay, somehow on the same goods or somehow in the same way. Let's look for that evidence. A, recipients of electronic transfers typically spent their funds at a slower rate. It's not about a slower rate. Okay, and that actually helps make the case, not weaken the case, because we want them to use their money in the same way, not differently or buy different goods. B, nearly every recipient of an electronic transfer withdrew the entire amount of physical money shortly after receiving the transfer. Oh, wait, that's actually interesting. I didn't think about that, but nearly every recipient of electronic withdrew it in physical, which means if you had electronic, you ended up with all physical cash, and the others had, in the first place, physical cash, which means everybody's spending the same thing, physical cash. So I was thinking more like spending it on the same goods, but actually spending the same form of money would weaken the claim, because then you couldn't claim there's a difference because everybody's putting it to cash immediately or getting it in cash. So B, I think, is going to be our answer. C, recipients of physical transfers tended to purchase food about as frequently as recipients of electronic transfers. Tended to purchase food as again, it's not about frequency. I don't think that's exactly right. Let's just check, because this is showing a sameness. I just don't think it's about frequency, so that's not right. D, some recipients of physical transfers receive small amounts of money relatively frequently, while others received large amounts. Okay, how they received it and what different chunks is not really relevant to our claim. I believe B is the answer. Okay, what do we have? We've got an if true, so all the answer choices we can assume are true facts, and we want to support the claim. So the command of evidence strengthen the claim. Psychologists Dr. Keltner and group have argued that experiencing awe, a sensation of reverence and wonder, typically brought on by perceiving something grand and powerful, can enable us to feel more connected to others. So if you feel awe, you feel more connected to others and act more altruistically. So you're more kind, you're more giving, right? So you feel connected to people and you're kinder to them. If you feel awe, okay, how we get a sense of awe? Well, let's keep reading. Keltner, along with colleagues, claims to have found evidence for this effect in a recent study where participants were asked to either gaze up at exceptionally long, tall trees in a nearby grove, okay, reported to be awe-inspiring. So that's our case of awe. Or stare at the exterior of a nearby nondescript building. Yeah, that's not too inspiring, is it? So they don't say so, but that's the one that's a building would be not awe, basically. Okay? After 1 minute, an experimenter deliberately spilled a box of pens nearby. Okay, so what are we going to think? We're going to think the ones looking at the trees will be connected, so they'll go to help the person, and they'll act altruistically. They'll try to pick up the pens for them, more likely. Whereas the ones staring up at a building will not. They'll ignore it, or maybe they'll notice it, but they won't actually help pick up the pens. So A, participants who've been looking at the trees helped the experimenter pick up significantly more pens than did participants who had been looking at the building. I think that's good. Let's check the others. Participants who helped the experimenter pick up the pens used a greater number of positive words to describe. No, it's not about how they describe the trees, right? Okay, the idea was the awe leads to altruism, not altruism leads to special senses of awe. Okay, that's not what we're looking for. C, participants who did not help the experimenter pick up the pens were significantly more likely to report having experienced a feeling of awe. No, that would actually weaken our claim, right? So if they were awe and didn't help, that's not what we would expect. Okay. D, participants who had been looking at the building were significantly more likely to notice that the experimenter had dropped the pens than were participants who had been looking at the trees. Okay, looking at the building is not awe. And notice they didn't help them. They were just more likely to notice, not necessarily help. So again, this is not testing our claim one way or another. A is the correct answer.